get to 1 Timothy chapter 5. That's where we are.
1 Timothy 5.
Yep. 1 Timothy chapter. We finished chapter 4 last week, and now we're on chapter 5. Yeah, because in chapter 4, Paul instructed Timothy about false teachers, and that was a big problem in the church of Ephesus. Mm-hmm. And now we get to chapter 5, and now Paul instructs Timothy on dealing with people who are in error. Okay?
Okay.
So this is 1 Timothy chapter 5. You there say amen?
Amen.
All right. And it says, do not rebuke an older man. So does that mean you can never correct an older person, someone that's older than you? No?
No.
What's it saying here? Do not rebuke an older man.
It's the way you talk to him. You have to respect him.
That's
As
right.
being older.
That's what I did, respect him.
You have to choose your words wisely when you talk to people older.
That's right. That's exactly right. You know, because in the next sentence it says, "But exhort him as a father."
Mm-hmm.
So you talk to an older man, a brother in the church. If he's in error, you talk to him like you would your own father, with respect.
That's right.
You don't go to him all crazy, you know, like you talking to a kid or somebody.
You know, and I heard this scripture read many a time,
Yeah.
and I know it's been taught in error because it was saying not to rebuke an elder, and we had I have a misunderstanding of it. I was thinking they was talking about elders in the church, you know, people who hold that office.
No, this is talking about people that's older than you. Because you got to remember in the context here, this is Paul writing to Timothy.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And Timothy is considered a young man.
That's right.
Yeah.
Under the age of 40.
That's
Right.
That was considered young.
Yeah.
And so he's instructing them on how to address people. That's the word I'm looking for. Address people who are in error in the church.
Yeah.
So he's saying if an older man is in error, you go to him as you would your own father.
Yeah.
With respect. Just like Emma said. That's what he's saying.
And brother teacher,
Yeah.
the very next verse, it said, elder women. You know the women's not elder.
That's right.
That's right. That's
Right.
right.
That's right.
That's right. It said, but exhort him as a father.
That's right.
But then it says, younger men as brothers.
Mm-hmm.
So you really need to talk with everybody with respect.
Right.
So treat
Exactly.
everybody you would with your
Yeah.
own family.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it says older women as mothers. And it says younger women as sisters with all purity.
Mm-hmm.
And then you notice it says the younger women, then it comes back with this all purity.
Purity, respect.
So Timothy was a young man, right?
Right.
And young men, especially single young men, they chase after women. So he's saying, treat these young women like you would your own sister,
That's right.
with all purity.
That's
Right.
See, don't go lusting after them. No fornication, no sexual immorality.
Right.
Treat the younger women like you would your own sister. That's right. That's what it means by your all purity. Here it's talking about, huh?
The older women than your mother.
That's right.
Yeah.
But that word purity here, it means physical purity.
That's right. That's right.
Abstaining from sexual immorality.
Right.
That's what it's talking about here.
Yeah.
All right.
That's true.
Okay. And now we're in verse 3. It says, honor widows who are really widows. So if you got people who are really widows, then you got some who are not really widows, right?
That's right.
That's just obvious word from the wording here. That's what we get. And it says, but if any widow has children or grandchildren, let them first learn to show piety at home and to repay their parents. And that word piety here, that word piety means to have duty towards, means to have an obligation. Your kids and your grandkids have an obligation to take care of you when you get into your older years. That's their obligation. That's what that word piety means. And any younger person who doesn't fulfill that obligation, isn't pleasing to God.
That's right.
All right? So when your parents took care of you when you were young, you couldn't take care of yourself. Now it's your turn. When they can't take care of themselves, now it's your turn. You have a duty to repay the favor.
That's right.
All right? This is not an option. It's an obligation.
That's right.
That's what that word piety means. That means it's an obligation. All right?
And Greg, in this place, it said nephews.
Right. Your family should be the first ones to take care of you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Grandchildren, nephews.
Right. If it comes down to nephews, nieces, great grandchildren, your family should be the first ones to take care of the older generation.
Thank you.
All right. All right. It says at home to repay their parents, for this is good and acceptable before God. See, this is pleasing to God.
Mm-hmm.
It says now in verse 5, now she who is really a widow and left alone trusts in God and continues in supplications and prayers night and day. So now it's starting to get into these people who are really widows, and we're going to go more into what does it mean by when it says really a widow.
Widows indeed.
In other words, it says, and left alone. In other words, she has no family support.
Right.
Yes, indeed.
Either she's outlived her family, or her family is not godly.
That's
Right.
right.
One or the other.
Right.
And they don't have that same piety, that obligation that they should have if they were a godly family or godly kids. See, just because you got kids doesn't mean they're going to be taken care of.
That's true.
Even if you took care of them. Alright? So it says, and left alone, trusting God and continues in supplications and prayers night and day. In other words, this is somebody who's really a widow is a godly woman. She's a godly person. See that? So she's not in and out of the church.
Right.
Right? She's not one week she's in the world, next week she's in the church. She's not going back and forth. This is somebody who's faithful.
That's right.
Right? It says night and day. He said, but she who lives in pleasure is dead while she lives.
Mm-hmm.
And so, when we talked about the states of man, right?
Right.
When we say, how can you be dead while you're alive?
Dead in sin.
That's right.
Yeah.
So you can be physically alive and yet spiritually dead. And that's what it's talking about here. So if a widow is living in pleasure, she's dead while she lives.
That's right.
In other words, she's spiritually dead.
Yes.
And these things command that they may be blameless. So that word blameless it doesn't mean that you're perfect. That's talking about that you're not continuing in sin.
Yeah.
Blameless means nothing to grasp or hold on to. That means you don't have something that's a continuing problem. You know, like some kind of addiction or unfaithfulness.
Yeah.
Or bad temper,
That's right.
that type of thing.
Yeah.
See, that's something that people can accuse you of. See, and it says this person has to be blameless. Okay? He says, but if anyone does not provide for his own, and especially for those of his household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't get no worse than that. So people who don't take care of their own family, God has little respect for those.
That's right.
It says you're worse than an unbeliever.
Yeah.
Right? Then it says, we have verse number 9. Then it says, do not let a widow under 60 years old be taken into the number. And you say, over the age of 60, why? Why? Well, we're going to get to why you have to be over the age of 60 in a minute. So just hold on to that. But it says 60 years old, be taken into the number. And that taken into the number means to be enlisted or enrolled into. So if you're really a widow, and you're over the age of 60, that means you're enlisted or you're enrolled into some kind of special category.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to talk about what that really means in a minute. Okay? But that's what that word, when it says taken into the number. Then it says, and not unless she has been the wife of one man.
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, that's talking about she had to have been in a scriptural marriage.
Right.
That's what, anytime usually when the Bible is talking about the wife or the husband of one woman or the wife of one man, it's talking about that person had to have been in a scriptural marriage.
Right.
She could not have, except for fornication, she could not have put away her husband and remarried. See, that type of person is not considered a widow indeed.
That's right. And you mentioned the scriptural divorce. That would put them in that category if they had a scriptural divorce.
Right. And when we talk about scriptural divorce, we talking about it in Matthew 19 where it says except for fornication.
Right. Right.
That's what it's talking about. If you got a divorce for any other reason except for fornication and remarried, you living in adultery. Okay?
Living in sin.
That's right. That's what it's talking about. Well reported for good works. If she has brought up children, now notice that word children is plural.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and a lot of people would consider that to mean more than one. I personally think that it includes people with only one child. Well, real quick, real quick. I'm not going to spend any time on this, but just this one verse. Go to Ephesians 6. Ephesians 6 and start at verse 1. Ephesians 6 and start at verse 1. You there? You ready? Say amen.
Amen.
It says children, plural, right? Is that not right?
Right.
Obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor your father and mother, which is the first commandment with promise, that it may be well with you and you may live long on the earth. Then it says, and you fathers, do not provoke your children, plural, right, to wrath, but bring them up in the training and admonition of the Lord. So notice it said, Father, do not provoke your children. But we all know, that just common sense that would tell you, and Bible principles would tell you that even fathers with one child, they still should provoke their children, even if they only have one child, even though it's used in the plural form of the word children, right? That's just basic Bible principle, right? That would include people with one child. So, and we know that even in our English, when we use the word children, it includes people with one child. Because if I say everybody who has children, take your kids outside, even people with one child, most likely, are going to take their children outside to play.
Right.
Okay? So when we get to Timothy, for some reason, it's that same word children, teknon, in the Greek. It seems like when we get to Timothy and it starts talking about elders, deacons, and widows, for some reason, even though it's the same word children, we take it to mean that it's got to be plural. It can't include people with only one child, even though it's the same word.
Agree.
I don't quite understand it. I used to think that way, but I don't anymore. I don't understand it. If you want the Bible to plural, because there's nothing in the Bible that tells you that just because it's talking about an elder, now all of a sudden this word has to be plural and it can't include somebody with one child, even though we read throughout the Bible that it does include people with one child. But I just wanted to say that one thing on that. Go ahead, Eugene.
No, I was just going to say I heard another teaching on it.
Go ahead.
And I'm not sold on that one child myself, but this just me.
Okay, go ahead and tell.
It just I
Mhm.
heard that you gotta have at least two
Right.
and be faithful and all that other stuff, you know.
That's right.
So I'm not sold on the one child, but that's not to say that you're not wrong.
Right.
I mean, you're not right, but this is just me.
I got respect for that. I got no problem with that. But let me tell you this, Eugene. If you hold to that, then you got to be consistent. That means you got to say elders got to have children, deacons got to have children, and widows got to have children, plural, because they use that same plural form in all three instances. When it's talking about the elders and their qualifications, when it's talking about the deacons and their qualifications, and to be a widow indeed, it says children, plural. So if you're going to hold to that, that means it has to be plural in every instance.
Yeah.
So you want to be consistent, right?
Right.
But even though we saw in Ephesians where we know that it's talking about, you don't think a father who has one child can, just because it's only one, he can provoke that child to wrath, do you?
Well, you know where I got stuck on this?
Go ahead.
I was going to say that. I mean, my understanding may be different, but I was going to let God be true. And if I had to be a lie, I was going to be a lie. I'm not going to say that God is wrong on anything. It may be my understanding of it,
Okay.
and I'll let it stay at that.
Okay. All right. Now we get you say if she had brought up children, so a widow had to have had some children in order to be a widow indeed. Now, does that mean that if you didn't have children, that the church can just discard you? No. See, this is talking about a special category, widow indeed, and we're gonna tell you exactly what that means in a minute. But your brothers and sisters, and even the church as a whole, can still help people who are in need.
Right. Right.
Even if you have one child or no children.
Yeah.
Temporary help to help you get back on your feet.
Yeah.
See, yes, Catherine.
Why would they in 10? Why would they say if she had instead of she had?
He said if she had brought up children, what do you mean? What are you talking? Which word are you talking about?
In verse 10.
It says, "Well reported for good works if she had brought up children." I got a New King James, and mine says if she had brought up children.
They said if she had.
Did she have what?
Just
Read it.
if she have. I mean, it's supposed to be she has it instead of not she had.
You back
But
in,
I'm just wondering
No, I'm
if
not
there's
understanding.
a good.
I know. Okay, no, I'm trying to see what the difference between. You got to read the whole verse so I can know what you're saying.
We're reported up for good works. If she have brought up children, if she have lodged strangers,
Oh,
if
in
she
the,
have washed the feet, if she have relieved the afflicted, if she have diligent followed every good word.
so you saying present tense? That's what you're saying. That's what your Bible is saying.
Well, I like that question.
Yeah, plural instead of single.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Why would they use with a single with a plural verb with a
Single subject.
yeah? That's what I was wondering. Is
I
there a
like
reason
that.
for it?
Since we own it,
Is there a reason for that?
since we own it, I just like that question, and I'd like to get the answer on that right now. But either one of those, if you have not did, would that disqualify?
If you did not,
You all of them if you have. If you have not did one of them, would that disqualify her?
That's right. It
That's
would.
what I want to know.
It would disqualify her. That's
I
right.
want to know.
And we're gonna find out why in a minute.
All
But
right.
yeah, but the simple answer to your question is yes.
Okay.
See, these are not options here. These are not, well, if you want to, these you can just regard these as a guide. No, these are commands. This is what a widow indeed is, and this is the category that puts her in if she has all these qualifications. Just like the elder had qualifications. He had to meet all those qualifications.
Right.
Just like a deacon had to meet all those qualifications. A widow indeed has to meet all these
That's
qualifications.
what I want to hear you say.
There you go.
If you just use that expression and leave it alone, that if the widow indeed got to meet all these qualifications, then you know that if you don't, she's not a widow indeed.
There you go. That's right. She has to meet these qualifications.
right.
Otherwise, she's not a widow indeed.
That's correct.
And it was going to be later in my lesson, but I'm going to say it now. The difference between a widow indeed and just somebody else who just needs help in the church, Like, just say somebody is lost their job and they get about behind their bills and you want to help them out. The difference between that and a widow in deed is that the widow in deed is enrolled or enlisted. That means the church is obligated to provide complete financial support.
Mhm.
We talking about complete financial support. That means you taking care of them.
That's what
See, and hold on, let me just say this one thing real quick, John. And the reason why the qualifications were not meant to be for everybody, for a lot of people. It was meant to narrow out certain
That's
people
right.
for a special category because the church cannot support everybody.
That's right.
So this is a special category.
That's true.
Go ahead, John.
Well, what I wanted to say, when this particular widow we talking about right here,
Yeah.
I believe it's the same one that James is talking about in James 1:27. He said, pure religion,
Mm-hmm.
undefiled before God and the Father is this.
All right.
He says, to visit the widows in their affliction,
Mm-hmm.
and the fatherless and the widows in their affliction, and keep himself unspotted from the world. Now, every woman that ain't got no husband or call themselves a widow, they don't qualify because there are women that lost their husband and still looking for another one or either they got another. See?
Well, we're going to get into that. It gets a
That's all
little
right.
bit into that.
Well, until she got another one, she still be a widow, wouldn't she?
Huh? Yeah, until she
But
get
we're talking
another.
about widow
But
indeed.
she won't qualify like this widow though.
Right.
See, it said widows indeed. That's the one that we're reading about here now.
Mm-hmm.
That got a qualification that you just read about. If she have done this, if she have done that, then she'd be obligated to the church.
Right.
Then you were saying that she had all these qualifications, she wouldn't be looking for a husband, right?
Oh no! She's in need. That's a widow in need.
I was saying, I think you couldn't do
Go ahead.
that because,
Hold on a minute. Hold on 1 second.
okay.
Go ahead.
You know, Greg, I look at the church and widows that are in deed. And sometimes I really don't think the church knows their responsibility
Exactly.
for widows in deed.
Right.
They don't. And I mean, they're leaders. And I say it all the time. They do not understand their obligations.
Well, then all you gotta do is bring them to this chapter.
But they don't, I mean, they read it, they elders, they should know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need to
They're
explain
leaders,
it.
Okay,
they're
the first
preachers.
thing is, if you're gonna blame the church for it, you have to give an example of a widow that make all, tell one widow that make all these qualifications. I don't know what.
Sister Bosma did when she didn't have nobody. She helped, she was
She
faithful.
did have nieces and nephews,
But they didn't take care of her. They wasn't a member of the church.
but it said, but if any widow have children or nephew,
But they
let
wa-
them learn first to show pity.
But they wasn't a member of the church and they didn't understand.
But
And she
Catherine,
was
but
left alone.
it says here.
We talking about members
It
of the
said,
church.
right me though, but it
I'm
says,
sorry.
hold on, young man. It says now that she is really a widow and left alone. So even if she got family, that doesn't mean that they're gonna show piety towards her.
That's what I'm
So if
listening to.
if they're not godly children, they might not take care of her.
That's it.
Well, you know, but
Okay, I got you next. Go ahead.
here's what I want to say. You know, like you said, this could be somebody that has become a member of the church. And maybe she is the only one, the rest of the family ain't even a member of the church. You know what I'm trying to say?
Right.
In other words, how can you hold them
That's
responsible for her?
Yeah, now
That's
member
right.
of the church.
See, because I think we're talking about people that is concerned, you know, like brothers and see, we in the church spiritually, we're brothers and sisters.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And we ought to be concerned about taking care of our own.
That's
Now,
right.
even though the family not a member of the church, they may not even care nothing about that person.
That's right. Just like and just because you see, because you got godly kids, you don't have to worry about this.
No, that's what I'm
Because
saying.
they gonna show piety at home.
And Craig,
No, let me know. I'm getting my mom next. She had her hand up. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say this, I don't know if this is even the right way to think, but a lot of widows today, as opposed to biblical times, when they are widows, that means their husbands are dead, and they usually draw their husband's pensions, they draw Social Security, they draw, and maybe that's why a lot of times the church don't take care of widows because they do have income. Now, I don't know what other however way that the church can support them. But I'm thinking y'all talking about financially, right?
No, we're not. I'm not always talking about money.
Go ahead,
If
Ellen.
they're in a nursing home,
Yeah.
they need somebody to check on them. They need somebody to make sure their affairs and all. Yeah, they got an income, but they have nobody to make sure that everything's okay. That's what I'm talking about.
But that's your
It's
Christian
more
duty.
than-
I don't
that's
know,
more
that's
than
your Christian
financial.
duty. No, here we talking about financial support.
We're talking about financial and Chris. Sometimes
No, that's your Christian. If you got somebody who's in a nursing home, that's your Christian duty.
That's
I don't
right.
care who you are.
That's right.
I know they are, but sometimes they need people to check on their financial affairs. They do. Because they don't have nobody to take care of their finances. And they got it, but they need somebody to check on. And I think the leaders of the church should take that responsibility.
Go ahead, John.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying now. I think.
Because we are the spiritual
let
family.
me finish saying this.
Okay?
Okay, about the widows. But see now, when the way James is telling this thing, he said, pure religion, undefiled before God is this: to visit the fatherless and the widows in their affliction. You know, if she's a member of the church, the elders and the member and everybody else ought to know she got condition. Not only the elders, everybody, the whole church ought to see to it that she's being seen about.
But certain financial situation, the leaders of the, especially if you don't have, the leaders of the church should take charge. Not everybody, but the righteous leaders, because they are the overseer of the flock. And if she is in a nursing home or something, she got financial, and they need to check on and see what, that is responsibility, because she is our spiritual family, and the leaders are to look after the widows.
Yeah,
We ourselves too. Everybody's voting.
but you know,
in
to go
certain
back-
cases, you
to go
can't
back
vote.
where Carolyn
One at a
was.
time, yeah.
Okay.
Some cases, we as just individuals cannot take charge of people, but the leaders of the church can. I'm sorry, go ahead on.
But I just want to go back to what Carolyn just said just a while ago. You know, I mean, we know this has been enforced for thousands of years. What we're reading about now, right? And we find that a widow didn't have the benefits like we have now. If you're married to somebody, you know, and what I'm trying to say is that condition may not never get like that. You know what I'm saying? They can be independent of the widow if they had a husband, because financially they're in good shape. They get a check every month. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm trying. It all depends on what you're looking at. When you say a widow's in affliction, that one that can't help herself is in need.
That's right.
This is what we are talking about.
And if she's in her right mind, if she's 90 years old, I don't need you to tell me how to spend my check. I don't need you to come tell me how
No,
to do
we're
that.
not talking
Go
about
ahead,
that.
go ahead, Eugene.
Okay, yeah, I'm understanding you, because you just said probably 3 or 4 verses ago, if they had children, then the children, you know, of the family. She had a husband that was in the church, probably elder or a deacon. If she has children, living children,
Right,
then they're responsible.
that's right.
But if she don't have, the widow indeed, what I'm trying to come down to, she don't have no children.
No. In order to be a widow indeed, you had to have raised children. And if you didn't have any children, you don't qualify as a widow indeed.
Okay.
Now, just because you got children doesn't mean that they're going to show piety at home. That doesn't mean that they're going to take care of their
No.
I
parents.
understand that.
But one little qualification, they said if she had brought up children.
Right,
That's not an option.
right.
So, but a person who doesn't have kids and need help, the church doesn't mean that the church still can't help them.
No.
They just not a widow indeed.
Right, okay.
Okay.
I understand. But what I'm saying is this. Regardless, I think Yuma had a point. Regardless whether they had children or not, if they had need
Right.
of help,
Right.
they might have been in a nursing home. Have nobody to take care of their business.
That's it.
But see, that's a different situation though.
I'm into this thing.
What we're talking about here in chapter 5,
That's what
we're talking about people who need financial support, or the total financial support of the church. Now, if you're in a nursing home, the nursing home is taking care of you. Now, if you just say if you're a widow indeed and you're in a nursing home and you can't pay the nursing home, then the church has an obligation to pay that expense
And
for
not only
them.
that, Greg, excuse me, they have an obligation. If that lady has nobody, and nobody, they in a
That's
nursing
all
home,
Christians'
they have
obligation,
an yeah, but the legal
We're talking about people who are enrolled and listed as widows indeed.
I know.
Can I finish this up? At
No,
that time, I don't know if there was Social Security check
Yeah.
or any of these things existed.
Uh-huh.
And the church probably was the only place they could get help. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
I don't know if they had all these organizations. I don't know what was back there for them then.
Well, I can tell you, no, they didn't.
They didn't have them kind
Right, and so you're right. A lot of women who were widows indeed
Yeah.
had to depend on the church.
That's right.
But let's finish reading the rest of these
Go ahead.
qualifications then.
And that verse 10 now, Greg,
Yeah.
See, even one of those qualifications in there
Yeah.
got to be recognized.
That's right.
And if she is short of any of these here, I mean, the church is really not responsible for it.
Well, that's true. It said, well, in the sense that they're not responsible for her total financial support. She's not qualified as a widow indeed. She said, well reported for good work. If she had brought up children, if she has lodged strangers, if she has washed the saints' feet. In other words, wash the saints' feet. In other words, she's doing good work in the church. She's helping. She's been a faithful Christian, so helping to support her fellow brothers and sisters. If she has relieved the afflicted, if she had diligently followed every good work. See, she has to be a good Christian.
That's right.
That's right.
She has to have brought up children. She has to be over the age of 60. What'd you say? And she has to be a good report. She has to be blameless. She has to have been in continuous. And that means she said when it said continuous in supplications and prayer. In other words, she has to still be doing this work in the church, present tense. So that can't mean that when she became a widow, she just stopped being, coming to church and stopped helping people. This is a continuing thing.
That's right.
She has to continually meet these qualifications.
That's right.
And then when we get to verse 11, then you find out why it's putting all these qualifications on. It says, but refuse the younger widows. So these are people under 60 whose spouses died, but they're under the age of 60. See, they're not widows indeed.
No.
And now it tells you why. It says, for when they have begun to grow wanton against Christ.
That's right.
And that word wanton means to insist on having your own way. That means you're headstrong. You're hard-headed. Right? That means you self-willed. That type of person. In other words, you putting your own needs and will above God's.
Your desires.
That's
lust,
right.
The lust and desires and all that stuff is involved.
Yeah.
When they have begun to grow wanton against Christ, they desire to marry. Now, see, that might sound like a contradiction. Now, why would he put in there they would desire to marry?
That's
Because
right.
if you get to verse 14, it says, I desire that the younger widows marry. Now, that sounds like a contradiction. Here, the younger widows, it says they desire to marry like it's a bad thing. But in verse 14, it says that he desires that they marry.
That's right.
So what's the rationale here? Anybody know what the rationale here? Why in verse number 11 it says they grow wanton against Christ? They desire to marry, like it's a bad thing that they're desiring to marry. Well, I'm gonna tell you now, it is. So tell me why is it? Why is? Okay, go ahead.
What?
You shaking your
Well, this
head.
thing it says on Mount, it says when their strong physical needs pull them
There
away
you
from
go.
their commitment to
That's
Christ,
it.
they will want to marry you.
There you go.
When they will be guilty of not doing what they.
And we all know what that is.
That's not saying that it's a bad thing.
No.
That ain't no bad thing.
I don't know. No. Well, listen.
You know what it is.
Wait a minute. Hold on. It says they're desiring to marry. So, in other words, if their strong physical needs are pulling them, desiring them to marry, right? First of all, they're wanting against Christ,
That's right.
and now they're desiring to marry.
That's right.
But in this context here, it's making it seem like them desiring to marry, that there is not the same desire that he desired to marry in verse 14. There's a clear difference between these two marries here. Does anybody know what it is?
Well, it says they desire to marry,
When you become wanting against Christ,
but in 14 it says, I desire that that the younger widows marry. So that's God saying or Christ saying it, isn't it?
No. Verse 14.
What Paul is saying.
Paul is talking here. He says, I desire that the younger widows marry. But in verse 14, the same Paul says they're wanting. Now, first, you got to look at it in the contents of this paragraph. They're wanting against Christ. In other words, they're putting their needs above God's. Then it goes right into they desire to marry. Now, if you're wanting against Christ, that means you're starting to go into the world. You become worldly. And now you're desiring to marry. Is that a good thing?
Okay, this is you talking about a widow now, and she's lost her husband, and now she wants to marry again. So what's the difference between wanting to marry the second time and wanting to marry the first time? Why is she wanting?
This has nothing to do with wanting to marry the first time and wanting to marry the second time.
But you said desire to be married.
Right.
So what about the person who desired to marry the first time? How she has desire to marry again?
Right.
What makes it bad to want to marry again? Just like she wanted.
That's what I'm trying to get to. That's what I'm trying to get y'all to see. Okay, let's put your hands down because let me go ahead and explain this. All right. See what I'm getting here. What I'm getting here is it says first of all she's becoming wanting against Christ. That's the first slippery slope that you're getting into already. Now you're desiring to marry. So somebody who's already wanting against Christ, now they're desiring to marry. Or you think they're gonna marry a godly person? No, they're more likely they're gonna go into. And back then, you had a lot of women who were marrying people who were pagans. They were idol worshipers. See, and the desire to be married here is talking about marrying ungodly folks. That's what it's saying. You see, that's why it starts to become. And when you marry somebody who's ungodly, the chances are they're gonna turn you that way, right?
That's right, brother.
Am I right?
You got something there.
See, so when it says they have begun to grow wanting against Christ, now they're desiring to marry.
They'll marry anybody.
Yeah, then it says having condemnation because they have cast off their first faith.
That's right.
See,
you're right.
They're starting to turn against Christ, and now they're desiring to marry too.
Yeah.
So they're gonna, you think they're gonna marry a godly person who's faithful in the church? No, they're probably gonna come out here and marry one of these unbelievers that's gonna turn them completely against Christ. That's the difference between verse 11 and then when you get up here to verse 14. All right, you had something. Go ahead, Kim.
I mean, but just because a person is under 60 don't mean they're gonna become wanting against Christ. I mean, we're
gonna get to that. Just hold your peace. All right. It said they go wanting against Christ. They desire to marry, having condemnation because they have cast off their first faith. Then look, this is why they become wanting against Christ, and this is what happens to them. This is why they shouldn't be taken into the number and provide for all their financial needs. Verse 13. It says, and besides, they learn to be idle. In other words, they get lazy. They get lazy.
There you go.
Wandering from house to house, and not only idle, but also gossip and busybodies. When you see, this is what these women
speaking things with the old not.
Speaking things, yeah. So just think if you're a widow and the church is taking care of all your financial needs. What's gonna happen?
That's a good point, Greg.
You get lazy. You become a busybody, means you get in other people's business. You become a gossiper. So not only do you get in other people's business, you go tell other people what their business was.
Tell other folks business.
Right. You become wanting against Christ. Then you decide to start. Because you got these physical needs, now you want to marry.
Very good. Very good.
And then you marry some of these worthless worldly men out here in the world just because you want to satisfy your physical needs. This starting to come together now, what it's getting at here. If you take the whole paragraph in its context, that's what it's getting at here. Busybodies. Right here, it's talking about a woman. I know him. I'm just playing, okay? Go ahead. You got a disagreement. I want to hear it now in front of the whole class, so I can correct you in front of everybody.
I know when we talk about widow, it's finance. It's a pivot. It's more. It can be safety. It can be that life.
Hold your peace for a second.
I know. You know when we talk about that. I'm serious.
You taking this chapter out of context when you start getting into all these other things. That's
It's
not
the
what
same
this
thing.
is. All right, we're gonna show you. I'm gonna show you in a minute. Okay, just hold on. All right, it says also gossips and busy by saying things which they ought not. Y'all through? Okay, let's get to the lesson real quick. Then I'll show you what it's saying. All right, and it says, where are we at here?
14.
Coming down.
All right, yeah, and it says, in which they ought not. Now, before we get to that, we were talking about women. While we on women real quick, let's turn to Titus 2. So I will just show you that it's talking about women here. Now, we know that the principle applies to men too, but here it's directly referring to a woman, to women. So let's go to Titus 2. Man, we're going to start at verse 3. Verse 3 and get to verse 5. You there?
Yeah.
It says, the older women, likewise, that they be reverent in behavior, not slanderers, not giving much wine, teachers of good things, that they admonish the young women to love their husbands, to love their children, to be discreet, chaste, homemakers. Homemakers. Whose first priority is it to be the homemaker? The woman. Good, obedient to their own husbands. Y'all got that? That the word of God may not be blasphemed. So, when a woman shows these kind of qualities, a good Christian woman, this keeps people from out of the world, or people from that's around you, from blaspheming God, because they say, look, she's supposed to be a Christian, but look how she treats her own family. She's not submissive to her own woman, her own husband. She out here doing all kinds of things.
Right.
See, she's not a good homemaker. Look at her house. Dirty, trashy. She ain't cooking when she's supposed to. See, that's the woman's first priority. If you want to see what a good woman is, let's show you what a good woman, good Christian woman. Go to Proverbs. We ain't talking about men right here. We talking about what Paul talking about. We go to Proverbs. Go to Proverbs 31. Go to Proverbs 31 and start at verse 10. Proverbs 31 and start at verse 10. All right, real quick. It says, hold on, I'm in the wrong chapter again. Proverbs 31 verse 10. It says, who can find a virtuous wife? And what that word virtuous means? Virtuous means somebody who has high standards. Yeah, see, when a woman has high standards, see, she don't just look for any old body. See, this is how they find these no good men. It says, for her worth is far above rubies. The heart of her husband safely trusts her. So he will have no lack of gain. She does him good and not evil. All the days of her life. She seeks wool and flax and willingly works with her hands. See, she's not lazy. She don't mind working with her hands. She is like the merchant ship. She brings her food from afar. She also rises while it's yet night and provides food for her household and a portion for her maidservants. So see, this is not a poor woman. This is a well-to-do woman. She considers a field and buys it. So this is a woman who's not dumb when it comes to business. So a woman, she needs to be able to manage the home, and she needs to have some sense of business just in case. You know, you can't just be totally relying on your husband to do everything, because if something happens to him, where's that going to leave you? It says, for her profit, she plants a vineyard. She girds herself with strength and strengthens her arm. She perceives that her merchandise is good, and her lamp does not go out by night. In other words, the good things that she's doing, her work and stuff is paying off, and it's continuous. It's not temporary. So that's what it means by her lamp does not go out at night. She stretches out her hands to this staff, and her hand holds the spindle. She extends her hand to the poor. She reaches out her hands to the needy. She is not afraid of snow for her household, for all her household is clothed with scarlet. She makes tapestry for herself. Her clothing is fine linen and purple. Her husband is known in the gates. When he sits among the elders of the land, she makes linen garments and sells them. So her husband is an elder in the city, right? And when it said he sits with them at the gates, so he's respected in the city, not just because of him, but because of her as well. It said, and supplies sashes for the merchants, strength and honor are her clothing. She shall rejoice in time to come. She opens her mouth with wisdom, and on her tongue is the law of kindness. She watches over the ways of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. You don't want no lazy woman.
That's probably what you're going to do.
That's 31. Her children rise up and call her blessed. Her husband also, and he praises her. My daughters have done well, but you excel them all. Charm is deceitful, and beauty is passing. But a woman who fears the Lord, she shall be praised. So look, a good-looking woman, look, those are temporary. See? Those are passing. But a woman who fears the Lord, that's the woman you want. Give her the fruit of her hands, and let her own work praise her in the gates. So that means that, in other words, she has a good reputation among people that's around her. And her husband has a good light on her whole household. See, and her reputation even enhances the reputation of her husband. Now we go back to 1 Timothy real quick. Let me see where my time is. All right, let's go ahead and get through this. All right, let's go ahead and get through this. First, let's go back to 1 Timothy, and we had verse number what? All right, 14. It says, therefore I desire the younger widows marry, bear children, manage the house, give no opportunity to the adversary to speak reproachfully. And that adversary just means that people who are out in the world or people who talk against Christ, God always wants you to be mindful of others and how they see Christians in the church. And you don't want to give nobody cause to blaspheme the name of the Lord by your conduct. It said, for some have already turned aside after Satan. If any believing man or woman has widows, let them relieve them. See, now when they relieve them, that's talking about financial support. That's talking about financially, you know. So, if these people, and so in other words, they say if this widow qualifies and she does all these things, it says, let them relieve them, and do not let the church be burdened, that it may relieve those who are really widows. See, in other words, don't burden the church on people who don't make these qualifications. But the church has an obligation to support those who are really widows. It's talking about finances here. Now, it's everybody's Christian duty to visit somebody in a nursing home or to visit the sick. That's all our duty. But the church is obligated to support those financially who are really widows, who are continue to be Christians in the church. You guys, everybody see that here?
Yeah.
When it's talking about relieve them, it's talking about financially. All right. Verse 17. Let the elders who rule well be counted worthy of double honor, especially those who labor in the word and doctrine. For the scripture says, you shall not muzzle an ox while it treads out the grain, and the laborer is worthy of his wages. Now here he's talking about those, when he's talking about those who labor in word and doctrine, in other words, your minister. See, the church has an obligation to help support the minister, the one who's preaching the word in your church. And here, when he's talking about elders, it says, be counted worthy of double honor. That's it's talking about have respect for your leadership. That's what it's saying. It's not saying that you need to pay the elders. Okay? Those are two different things about when he's talking about the elders, and then when he gets into one who labors in the word and doctrine. You see that there?
Yes, it's 17.
Okay.
Oh, so what are you saying? That is saying that the church is supposed to take care of the preacher?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. Financially, yeah. He said because it says worthy of his wages. So your preacher is worthy of getting paid. Okay? That's what it's saying here. It said, do not receive an accusation against an elder except from 2 or 3 witnesses. And that goes all the way back to the old law, Deuteronomy. And that's basic principle is that, you always want to have somebody to be there to confirm with 2 or 3 people. You don't want just the word against one person, but it be my word against your word type of thing. So those who are sinners rebuke in the presence of all. Here it is still referring to elders, that the rest may fear. I charge you before God and the Lord Jesus Christ, the elect angels, that you observe these things without prejudice, doing nothing.
Wilson, I'm just on that 20th verse there.
20th verse.
See, read that again.
Those who are sinning,
them that sin, rebuke.
Those who are sinning, rebuke in the presence of all.
Okay. Now, is that it's talking about the elder that does
It's
this?
talking about elders.
That's what I'm saying.
It's still referring to elders.
See, because now, when you first started off, they said rebuke not an elder. That was talking about an older person.
Yeah.
Right.
This elder that's got this position.
Right.
When he gets sin, you need to get on him.
That's right. That's the elder in the church. Here.
That's right. Okay.
Because you go to verse 19, it says, do not receive an accusation against an elder except for 2 or 3 witnesses.
That's true.
See, it's continuing on, still talking about the elder.
Right.
It says, those who are sinning, rebuke in the presence of all. In other words, if your leadership is sinning, rebuke them in front of everybody so that the rest can learn from that. That they may fear.
Right.
Well, then,
this is
let me ask you something.
simply talking about leadership.
But see, I mean, a lot of them has got people thinking that you ain't supposed to say nothing to the elders. See, but now,
Yeah.
that goes up there when you're talking about an older person, a rebuke,
Right.
But when it comes down to this one here,
Yeah.
they're doing all this low down, dirty, nasty thing. You need to get on in front of everybody.
That's right.
And you ain't wrong. You haven't sinned.
That's right. That is
If you got the nerve to do it.
That's right. That's right.
Well, that's the problem right there.
Now, what is that?
Go ahead. Most people don't fear God. They fear man rather than God.
Okay.
Now, we're not talking about, just like, like even elders and deacons, even they, sin.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not getting but we're talking about, the obvious sin. We're talking about if you see them actually after doing something that they know that they're not supposed to be doing, against the word of God, then you're supposed to correct or try to come to them, or what you have 2 or 3 other witnesses and just come back and.
Well, that ain't weird. That ain't the weird read here. That ain't the weird read.
It says
Read the 20th verse again.
So if you got an elder, let's just say he out there fornicating.
Mm-hmm.
It says right here.
Make sure
It says you rebuke in the presence of all, so that the rest may fear.
That's
So
right.
if you got a leader
you ain't got to get him by himself.
that's doing wrong, you need to correct him right there in front of
That's right.
everybody.
Right.
That's right.
So that the rest may fear. Because of an elder who's who is worthy of double honor. That's what the scripture just said, right?
That's right.
That means he's worthy of our respect because of his position.
That's right.
Then he has a higher responsibility. And those people, even
That's right.
Paul said, they're going to be judged strictly too.
That's right.
So, if they're sinning, he's talking about leadership here, elders.
That's right.
He says you so that the rest may fear you, rebuke them in the presence of all.
But they got to have witness, because people can lie. That's what they said.
We're not talking about people who lying, okay?
We have proof of this.
Yeah.
You need.
We're not, or Eugene, we assuming that is true, okay? We're not talking about folks who are lying.
It says them that sin.
I was going to ask you about
Them that sin.
Right.
You know them that sin.
What about
That's right.
the scripture that if you see a brother or a sister overtaking a fault?
Eugene, this is referring to
To the
elders,
I know
leadership,
Well,
okay?
a brother is
Yeah.
an elder, I know. But in that case, would it make a difference?
No, they're talking about double L. Somebody.
No. You confusing. When he said call your brother, when I do something wrong against you, then you come to me and me alone. But if you see an elder or somebody in the office of overseer, he's an overseer. He's responsible for all our souls.
Yeah.
If you know he's sinning,
That's
he's
right.
in
That's
sin,
right. Yeah.
the Bible is clear what you should do.
Yeah.
What is it?
Beautiful law.
Thank you. Thank you.
But
Go ahead.
it's first,
Oh man, come on, y'all. Go ahead.
You want to water it down, don't
you
you?
want to make sure that you right though.
And they get witness.
Well, we're not saying you just go out.
You said don't listen to someone who accuses an elder. You should listen to them only
Two or
if there
three
are
witnesses.
2 or 3 others who can say what the elder did.
But who's arguing that point?
I
Nobody's
just want
arguing
to
this thing.
make sure.
I said,
You
yeah,
need
that's
to
sin.
know.
Emma Kim, that's understood. Because we're not talking about you just falsely accusing somebody. We're
No.
talking about people you know who are sinning.
It said, them that sin.
There you go.
Rebuke before all, that others also may fear.
Yeah, now you take
This is not
That's the way it is.
this is not a hard passage.
No,
Y'all
it ain't.
stop making it hard. Okay.
It means what it said to say
Don't
what
take
it
it out
means.
of context.
I'm not taking it out of context.
You got to have a witness and make sure it's right.
Oh,
It
no.
said the elder that sinned.
That's what it said.
It didn't say your brother. It said
That's
the
what it
elder.
did say, brother. It said
They're
the
in
elder.
position that they're in leadership.
That's right, brother. Just-
They are trying to tell somebody else how to live
That's
right.
right. That's right.
When you're not doing
Amen.
right, point them out.
That's right.
Don't
That's
quit.
what it
You
said.
can't It says, these things without prejudice, doing nothing with partiality. And we in verse 22. Do not lay hands on anyone hastily.
All right.
Still talking about appointing people to leadership.
That's right. Amen.
Nor sharing other people's sins. Keep yourself pure. Oh, what he's talking about, don't lay hands. See, that was the ceremonial procedure that they did when they was appointing an elder back then. They would lay hands on people. So he said, look, don't appoint people to this position hastily. Right? Because when you do it hastily or you show partiality
Yeah.
or things like that,
Yeah.
when they start doing wrong, you partake in their sin because of what you did.
You know, I just want to help you out just a little bit there.
Please, go ahead,
When you said
John.
don't lay hand on him
Go ahead.
hastily,
Right.
you know, just like Samuel was trying to do when he went to Jesse's house looking for a king, he said, surely this man is God.
That's right.
God said, I don't want him.
Say, God, I don't want him.
No, God said, I don't want him. So,
Yeah.
so you just keep looking.
Yeah, that wasn't the one.
That ain't
Right.
him.
That's right. Yeah. So it's still referring to people in leadership,
Amen.
the overseers. That's what he's talking about, leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then it says, now he goes in and he's talking to Timothy directly. He says, no longer drink only water,
Mhm.
but use a little wine for your stomach's sake and your frequent infirmities. And now please don't try to use this as a justification to drink wine.
Yeah, that's right. Amen, brother. He said, drink no more water.
Right, don't use this. You know, just say you want to drink the wine. Don't try to use this scripture.
That's right.
And then it says some men's sins are clearly evident.
Yeah.
Now it's still talking about leadership.
Beforehand. Mm-hmm.
Preceding them to judgment, preceding them, but those are some men follow later. So in other words, he's saying, look, don't be hasty about this thing because
Yeah.
some men, when you can see right off the bat.
Yeah. Amen.
Some of their sins is right. You can see it clearly. There's
Right
no
up-
mistake,
right up
right?
front. Mm-hmm.
See, when you point these folks, you see it. Then it says some people's come afterwards.
That's right. That's what it said.
So when you point people hastily to these leadership positions,
Mm-hmm.
and then they start to do wrong,
Yeah.
then that's when that's when you are partaker in their sins because you took that, you didn't take your duty as far as being meticulous, and you keep yourself pure by appointing people who meet these biblical qualifications.
Amen.
Right? And some people's sins are evident preceding them.
That's right.
And some, you know, it might take a while, and it might come later. But then it says, some following later. Likewise, the good works of some are clearly evident, and those that are otherwise cannot be hidden.
That's right.
You know, it's hard to hide who you are for too long, right?
Right.
You know, when you get some people, you can talk to them for 5 minutes, and then you already know what they all about.
Oh yeah.
Right? So you already know right off the bat. But some people, it might take some time.
That's true.
You know,
That's
it might
true,
take months. You know, it could take 4, 5, 6 months. You know, you never know. Anybody else got a question, comment? So if nobody has any more comments or questions, then